Hello.
Hi, Simon. So nice to see you. It's been way too long. How are things?
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
At the
Enjoying
garden
the
happening.
glorious weather.
Eye roll. I wanted to sit and chat to you today. Thanks for making the time. I know, and a lot of us know you for many years as a chef and as a leader and an avid beer drinker on camera, who
Absolutely.
is passionate about everything that he does, and whether it be sales or whether it be people, you do that with huge passion and a very good sense of humor most of the time. So I wanted to explore with you a few topics which are close to all our hearts in hospitality at the moment. And one of them was around a quote that I did steal from your website, which I thought was quite apt for our discussion, where you say on your Uncommon Sense website, you say management is doing things right, where leadership is doing the right things. And that really does set the tone in my mind for where we all sit as an industry right now. One of the pieces I know really passionate and where your whole career started was as a chef. And we've got some of the most incredible chefs in the UK. And I know that with the way that COVID and lockdown and our recession, which we're facing, a lot of good chefs are suffering at the moment. And it's wondered if you could share some sort of thoughts on how we can possibly support or keep them engaged, because from a passion piece, that must be really hard to be going through.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with you. It is the most unusual times at the moment. And even for someone as you rightly, I generally look at life with a positive view and a cheery disposition, because frankly, it's much easier to get through life like that than being the opposite. But even with my optimistic glasses that I constantly wear, even I only on Monday this week was chatting with probably one of the greatest leaders in the food service sector, a gentleman called BaxterStorey, who's the chairman and CEO of WSH, Westby Street Holdings Limited. And he asked me a similar question to that you've raised. So it's really quite interesting that we're having this chat. And one of the things he said to me is, what do you think the numbers will be 2021 in terms of opportunity, in terms of recovery, in terms of bounce back? And I gave a figure which I felt was, truthfully, I felt was pessimistic, but I didn't think it was really, really bad. And he sort of looked at me and said, really? Now, bearing in mind, BaxterStorey, who is number one top 100 leaders in that sector for a couple of years on the bounce, he looked at me, and he's a guy that really understands business. He understands me very well. We worked together for 25 years. And he said, I've never known you to be so pessimistic. And I thought, wow, okay. He's normally the clever business guy. I'm always pushing the sky, and he's more realistic. And I said, okay, so why is my number, which by the way was kind of low 60s, why is that pessimistic? He said, because what we've got is an abundance of talent in this industry. We have an abundance of talent from the kitchen porter through to the CEO across all sectors. Everybody is a gifted, talented human being. And what they want to do is they want to do their best. People have always gone to work to do a great job. They haven't gone to work just for the money. Not if you're in hospitality, love hospitality. You go to work to do a fantastic job, to care, to serve, to love. And that's why he thinks the number is closer to 75%. In fact, a little bit over that. Now, it was interesting just from that conversation, and really the interesting way that he was sharing with me how he'd evaluated and equated that number. I walked out of that meeting thinking, you know what, maybe it's 80%. So it was a really great mindset. And the reason I'm sharing that tiny little story, and clearly it's only a small segment of a lovely long coffee that we shared, socially distanced, not, but it was a really great coffee. But the reason I share that is that one of the things that is so important with the young people, because it is going to affect the young people. So of course, all ages, all demographics, but we've got a lot of young talent that is going to be feeling very, very nervous, very, very concerned about their future, about their opportunities. And I think all businesses, no matter their size, whether you're a small 2, 3, 4-man band up to a big organization like Bartlett Mitchell or BaxterStorey or the Ritz Hotel or the Corinthia, you've got to put your arms around, metaphorically, your arms around these young people. And you've got to say to them, there will be opportunities. You've got to take the time to listen to them, listen to what their concerns are, and guide them as best you can. Now, we may not be able to keep everybody in employment, and that's because, sadly, whilst I think the government has been amazing in the United Kingdom, how they've supported the hospitality and other industries, yeah, I do think that the bounce back is going to take a bit of time. It's not, for me, I don't necessarily think it's V-shaped. I think it's probably a little bit of a wobbly W, but I'm no economics expert. I'm no forecaster. I'm just a humble cook that likes to think he knows what he's talking about. But I think if we can take the people, listen to them, and nurture them through maintaining positive contact with them, nurture them, because when the bounce back happens, oh my goodness, are we going to need these great talented people? So we've got to nurture them, listen to them, keep them as much as we can focused and engaged in the business in whatever small way we can. And I tell you, if you have that approach with your staff and your colleagues, and you collaboratively talk and listen with them, I can tell you now, they will go more than the extra mile for you through that lean period, which is not going to be too long. And in the words of, as I say, one of the food service leading lights, in his words, he sees next year as being, the upper 70%. So I think it's about nurturing, listening. That's my kind of quick answer to that, which wasn't too quick, sorry.
No, but an answer that makes my heart really, really happy, because that's what we firmly believe. There are some that believe government needs to do more. But as you say, if we compare ourselves to a lot of the rest of the world, the government has been incredible. But we also have a responsibility as businesses to solve our own problems. And someone the other day said, we need to be redundancies. We can't avoid them. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of the beast we find ourselves in at the moment. But you can have redundancies with kindness, and it's all about, I think now, especially in crisis, I appreciate leaders are under pressure, but it's their behaviors which speak louder than anything. Yeah. And they've got a responsibility to behave well.
Yes, I completely concur. I mean, one of the reasons I set up Uncommon Sense and the mentoring side of that business is that I felt that one of the things that I'd really enjoyed through my extremely long career, goodness, when you get to my age, you realize you've been doing this a long, long time. But one of the things I always found the most enjoyable part, and I genuinely mean this, the most enjoyable part of my job, even when I was a young trainee chef right through to being an elderly exec in business, is I always enjoyed meeting with a team member who had a challenge, an issue, an opportunity, and working with them to find their solution and the way forward and to help that growth. And the growth in the early days would be for both of us or for a team of us. We would all work together to get that growth. But in later years, I found that I was able, and I guess which is why, and I started with the University of Surrey as a mentor on their hospitality and tourism course. And I've been a mentor there for 5 years now. And that was really important to me because it's that treating people with the kindness, which is so important. And my mentor this last academic year, a young lady, Mai Chi, actually a Chinese national who actually now lives in Hungary, but she came over to the University of Surrey to do the course. And I was fortunate enough to be her final year mentor. And some of the things I learned, because it's amazing how much you learn from mentees when you are mentoring people. And one of the things I learned from her was that she felt that young people were not listening as much as they should to the advice of the elders. And I thought, well, this is quite cultural because clearly she's Chinese background. And I said, but I think you're wrong, because when I'm talking with you, you're listening. And you're taking on board these things. She said, yeah, but that's because I'm from a different culture. I said, no, I disagree with you. I said, it's about who's mentoring you. Are they treating you with kindness? Are they treating you with respect? And are they giving you the time so that they can listen to you, not for you to listen to them? And it's a listening skill, which I think is so important. And just coming back to that very point, because I really believe this to be absolutely fundamental in how you coach and mentor and put your metaphorical arm around people. And it's something that a brilliant boss of mine some years ago, the gentleman called John Simons. In fact, people watching this may well know his son. His son is Matt Simons, who's the managing director for CH&Co. I knew Matt when he was wearing short trousers, so this is a long time ago. But Matt's father, John Simons, and I'll never forget this, I was rushing around trying to be, you know, the best thing in the world at a very young age. And he said to me, you need to stop and you need to find thinking time and you need to find listening time. And these were such wise words. And I'm going back, you know, nearly 40 years ago. But what those words really meant to me is that he was saying to me with kindness and compassion, just don't worry about sweating the big stuff. Just take it easy. Look at what the opportunity is now. Think about it, listen to the opportunity, and then act decisively. And I've never forgotten that. And I really think this is a part of a mentoring talent that I'm lucky enough to mentor many people, that I always keep that in the front of my mind, is just remind people to listen, because you will find the opportunity.
I absolutely agree. I know we've had a lot of coffees together and the occasional glass of wine, but I don't know.
I'm advertising.
Really are. And the beers are available. But the first coffee that we had, I don't know if you remember, I just started my business, left law, and you were the first big leader that I was able to sit and have I mean, Chris and my investors aside, but sit down and actually talk to. I didn't know the industry, and it was really intimidating. Coming from law, it's not really something that was accessible in the old life. But you made the time to sit down and talk to me. I think we had 2 coffees actually. And you told me that your job was to have coffee, that you were I appreciate that maybe Alistair doesn't need to know this, but your job is to have coffee and to make the time. And for me as a small business owner, trying to work out how the heck this hospitality industry worked and get the connections and understand the dynamics, you taking the time out as a busy leader to share that with me and listen to me has stuck with me all this time. And every entrepreneur that I've often picked the phone up and said, Simon, I need help. You've made the time to sit and listen to them. And that obviously, you know, it massively appreciates it, but it speaks volumes for other leaders to as busy as you are. I still think that we all as an industry and as leaders have got a responsibility to talent. And I hate the word young, because I think talent comes in all shapes. We were looking at, 60% of entrepreneurial startups last year were people aged 40 to 60 years old. So surprising. And I think we're going to see that again with a lot of redundancies and people looking at adversity and trying to create some innovation and a future out of it. So I do agree that it is so important for leaders to understand that, yes, they have a responsibility to shareholders and all that goes with that. But then there's also this other piece that is the kindness and the community and responsibility to talent, which is not always easy.
Do you not think, I agree with you completely, do you not think that actually through this period, and I was just having a telephone conversation earlier this afternoon with an acquaintance, and just one of the things that he said to me was that he's noticed, as he's now sort of able to get out more because lockdown has been eased and, you know, retail is open again and so on and so on. And he was saying he's noticed that when he goes into a store or he goes into a restaurant or he goes into a coffee bar, he feels appreciated. And I thought to myself, but that's what we in hospitality have been doing for years. But then when I finished my conversation with him, I thought, you know, actually, I think I can't speak globally. I can only talk about the village that I live in, which is, you know, London and Hertfordshire. And I think people are starting to become a little bit more aware of everybody else's space and everybody else's challenges and opportunities. And I really do think if we can take a good thing out of this absolutely awful pandemic, which has affected so many people in a negative way, and the losses that people have had, clearly most sad and awful. But if we can take a little crumb of something and make sure that we carry it forward, it would be to remember that actually being thoughtful and aware of everybody else, because everybody uses this kind of be kind always, hashtag be kind, which is all very nice and great for social media, but actually just carry it forward and think to yourself, you know what, actually, it was quite nice to be nice to people, and I quite liked how I was appreciated. So then can we take that into our workplace? So when we are having to make some really, really awful decisions about financially, we need to make people redundant. Let's just remember as leaders that we need to do that kindly. We need to do it with a lot of compassion. But also I always think is if you're making that horrible, tough decision, and it's hard for the manager as it is for the person that's being made redundant in different ways, but it is hard and it does hurt. And I've had to do it myself over the years, and not one time has it ever been easy. I can genuinely tell you that. But I think one of the things that's so important is making sure that you do that with an appreciation that you can guide that person to somewhere that they can get some support and some help, be it either through charities like Hospitality Action or Springboard, or through working with mentors or working with agencies that can help them, or colleges, studying, whatever age group one is in. And I think it's really important on business leaders, if they're having to make those really, really, really awful, tough decisions, they do it thinking about being kind, but just carrying it forward. It'll pay you back so many times. Many fold over when you're able to re-engage with the working population and recruit again. I think then the way that you behave now will really help you in the future.
That's absolutely fair. I think the sadness was the beginning of all of this. We did see some really bad behaviors, and I do think that the millennials, the Gen Xers, they're looking for more from their employers. They're looking for more from their leaders. And they're not going to be as forgiving of the bad behaviors and the suffering that some of their friends and colleagues have had to endure. So they will be looking at how, when we move forward and we are growing, where do they want to work and who do they want to work for? And how do those businesses that they want to work for invest in things bigger than themselves, in communities, in innovation, in entrepreneurialism? How do they help rebuild? Not just for shareholder value, but for long-term communities and long-term meaningful growth.
Yes. However, the one thing, I smiled when you said millennials and Gen X. The only reason
I'm one almost.
Well, I'm way off of that. But one of the things I was just thinking about is I noticed, and I've got nephews and nieces who are all in that kind of generation, and amazing people that they all are. And they job hop and they move around. Of course, when I was that age, you stayed in a place and you learned, and then you gained enough knowledge and respect that you could move on. And it seems that now this millennial group, they're quite happy to hop along and here, there, and everywhere. So whilst I think what you're saying is quite right, the employer's got to give more and it's got to be that community, etc. I also think there's a bit of a responsibility to this generation, is they've got to say, hold on a minute, it's not all about me, because I'm working for this lady, I'm working for this gentleman, I'm working for this company or community. What value, more than just what I want, what can I put back in? What can I give them? Because it has to be a two-way street.
Agreed. And now it's my turn to smile, because I do agree with you on that. But Do you not think that businesses need to, they hop around because they're not finding what they're looking for in the businesses that they're working with? They're not seeing the behaviors of those leaders actually mirroring what they want. They're not seeing investment in the community. They're not seeing something bigger than themselves. So they hop looking for it. So two sides of the coin.
We're gonna kind of agree to disagree.
That's
because
okay.
I think I don't necessarily take issue with anything you've said, but if you're working as a millennial, let's say for example for a smaller organization that's trying to build, and maybe the management team have got a real vision, and maybe they're not articulating it correctly to everybody in the team, but they know what their vision is. They want to grow. And part of that vision is that ultimately we will get to be that community leader, etc. But we can't do that now. And so what we actually need now is everybody working with us. Now, you might say, well, why aren't they sharing and articulating the vision? Sometimes even leaders don't know how to lead. So they need to learn. So the job, I think, of people who have been through and got the battle scars, of which I've got many, as you can see there, got the battle scars. I think there's a responsibility on the older folks to be able to say to the young entrepreneurs or the businesses that are out there, not just to focus on the millennials, etc., but focus on the leaders and help them become stronger, better, listening leaders. Because I think that will stop, or certainly contribute to stopping the millennials hopping around.
That is fair. That is fair. And then there's also an argument for better communication. Because
yes, always.
If you have better, more meaningful communication, then you are on the same page and you realize what impact your contribution actually has, that you're not just a number, that you're not just replaceable. And that then means that you have a responsibility. I absolutely agree with you. We can agree.
We are, but also remember, some leaders don't necessarily have the communication skills that others do. And it takes time to learn it, and it takes time to have confidence to be able to communicate at the level sometimes that ultimately you get to. So perhaps I might put it back to the millennial and say, but it's also your responsibility to ask the right questions and communicate up.
Okay, we'll agree that it's a shared responsibility for everyone involved. If we work together, then we will achieve great things. I mean, hello, that was easy. And support our communities and our great talent, and look at how we can, from an entrepreneurial and innovation perspective, we're going to have to do a lot to get things back and help with growth, and businesses are also going to have to support that and maybe make specific, easier ways of working for those businesses for the time being to help with that growth.
Let me ask you something then, because I've been very, very fortunate that you've invited me over previous occasions to attend your entrepreneurial pitches, which have always been fascinating. And I've come away learning so much and meeting great people, and occasionally even thinking about sticking my hand in my wallet. So it's always been a really exciting opportunity for me. But the question I have for you is, have you now, through COVID, where you've learned as EP, some fantastic work that you guys and girls have been doing in terms of holding huge seminars with many 20s, hundreds, thousands of people attending your webinars, etc. How are you now going to make sure, from an EP perspective and this brilliant entrepreneurial pitch program that you have, how are you going to carry that forward? What plans do you have for that? And I'd love to be involved.
Well, Simon, your timing couldn't be more perfect, and this is not a prompted question.
We didn't even plan that.
No. So the 29th.
By Estrella.
There you go. And other beers are available. On the 29th of July, we are holding a virtual entrepreneurs pitch, so an innovation forum, which you are now going to attend and invite everyone to look at. Thank you. To look at this important area of innovation, especially from a tech perspective, because I think this has pushed hospitality technology forward by a good 5 years in 3 months. And but there's a lot of noise out there. And with those entrepreneurial pitches that we did, and thank you, it was always great to have, you know, industry leaders there. So it's so important for this talent to be able to have access to leaders, have conversations that they wouldn't normally have, but also, as you say, the other way around, for leaders to see what else is out there, how does it work, and what is the face behind the business. So doing that on the 29th, we'll be literally sending out something about that tomorrow. So seriously, great energy flow there for a second. But that's become more and more important because we're going to have to innovate. We're going to have to keep on innovating. And if we want to rebuild, we got to support small businesses. We have to support entrepreneurs. And business has to step in and help that, because government does great things with SIS and all that to, you know, grants and whatnot to help businesses start. But if business doesn't give them the opportunity and the airways and the listening space, then there is no way for them to go. So we're all over it, in a nutshell.
Completely agree. Good. Well, I'm pleased because I know there's a place here, I think it was in Great Portland Street. I attended a couple there, and I always enjoyed the whole event, and it was always ended with a very, very nice, pleasant glass of wine and a little nibble. It was always a lovely. So how are you going to deal with the glass of wine and the nibble?
The glass of wine you bring your own, and the nibble you bring your own too. Just like today, really. You're to have a beer.
Yeah, I don't know. And what you've not shown on camera is your hidden gin, but that's okay.
Well, actually, it's hidden over there. So, and my wine rack. So don't judge me. But it's all good and all important. But you're always a joy. Thank you so much for personally everything that you've done for me, the laughs we've had and continue to have, and for attending on the 29th and bringing everyone you know.
Well, I'm looking forward to that.
That is great. Thank you again. Enjoy the sunshine, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, and please give my very best wishes to all the team, because I think you're doing a great job, and I love seeing all of the YouTubes and reading the articles. Absolutely fantastic. Well done.
Thank you, and please send love to all of yours. We'll see you soon.
God bless. Keep well.
You too. Bye.
Bye.